Welcome to The Explainer. You know the story we've all been told, that technology, innovation, and economic growth are the surest path to a perfect world. But what if that whole idea is wrong? Today, we're diving into a text that makes a pretty bold claim that the real key to a happy society isn't found in our machines, but somewhere else entirely.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the productivity myth, the idea that really dominates how we think today. Then, we'll get into the author's counterargument and a really surprising case study they used to back it all up. After that, we'll unpack this core concept of the greatest creator, and finally, explore what it means to live in harmony with it.
So first up, let's establish the idea that this text is pushing back against. It's a vision of progress you've definitely heard before, and it all centers on one key concept.
What we're really looking at here is a fundamental clash of worldviews. On one side, you have the common belief that technology and human invention are the engines that drive us forward. But this text says, nope, that's a mistake. The real primary force for building a better world is something it calls the greatest creator.
The whole argument really revolves around this term, productive force. Now, traditionally, when we hear that, we think of factories, computers, efficiency, right? It's all the stuff we use to make more things, faster. And if you take that modern mindset to its logical extreme, this is what you get. The author points to this common vision of a perfect future, a world where machines do absolutely everything and humans don't have to work at all. In that view, this is the ultimate sign of success.
But this right here, this is exactly where the author basically says, hold on a second. They call this entire way of thinking a fundamental misconception. The text basically argues that our relentless chase for better technology and more stuff has very little, maybe nothing to do with creating a truly happy, ideal society. That link we all assume is there, the author says it's actually pretty weak. And to prove this, the author doesn't just want to debate philosophy. They pivot to a real-world example, arguing that the proof isn't in theory, but in how people actually live their lives. And this leads us to their main piece of evidence, a case study of a community they refer to as the second home. And this is where things get really interesting because it presents a total puzzle. Look at this community. They have very little of what we'd call high productivity. We're talking simple tools, basic food, and not a lot of formal education. And yet, the result is a society that's happy, free, and incredibly civilized. So how on earth is that possible if technology is the key to a good life?
Well, the author's answer is that this community gets something really fundamental that the rest of the world has completely missed. They've tapped into a totally different and way more powerful, productive force. And here it is, the big reveal. The foundation of the second home isn't its economy or its tools. It's the shared understanding that the true source of all abundance is what the text calls the greatest creator. It's important to note this term is translated from the original Chinese shangdi, sangdadi. So to help us get our heads around this, the author asks us to just step back and observe the world. They pose a few really simple questions, starting with this one. What really makes fruit trees bear fruit? And then think about this. What is it that actually makes the rain fall and nourish the earth? These aren't just poetic questions. They're pointing to incredibly powerful, life-sustaining forces that are way beyond our control. Or how about the miracle of life itself? You know, what is that invisible power that allows a hen to lay an egg that then hatches into a living, breathing chick? And what about us? What is that incredible biological force that allows one tiny fertilized cell to develop and grow into a complex, whole, living body? The text answer to all of these questions is the same. This inherent, life-giving, sustaining power you see all throughout nature, that is the greatest creator. It's the true engine of production in the world. And this slide just perfectly lays out the difference in scale, doesn't it? On one hand, you have human effort. We're digging wells, building canals, working so hard. And on the other, you have the creator's power, a single, gentle rain that nourishes everything, completely effortlessly. One is limited and takes so much work. The other is vast, easy, and total. Okay, so if the greatest creator is the real powerhouse, the next logical question is, how do we get in sync with that? How do we actually live that way? Well, the text lays out a pretty clear path, and you'll notice it has zero to do with building better machines. Instead, it's all about a change in consciousness. It's about seeking,
trusting, praising, and ultimately merging with the natural creative flow of life. It's a spiritual path, not a technological one.
And this is the author's final promise. By shifting our focus from our own limited inventions to this powerful natural source, a beautiful future isn't just something we hope for, it's a guarantee.
And so this text leaves us with a powerful and, I think, pretty provocative question to chew on. It's challenging us to look past all our tools, our economies, and our ambitions, and to really ask ourselves, what is the true fundamental source of the good and fulfilling life that we're all looking for?